Let's get ready.
I forgot something.
Welcome to another episode of the OC podcast. I am your host, Ricky Valera. On today's episode, we're going to tackle season 1, episode 8 of the OC. As always, I am joined by my co-host, Kenzie. How are you today?
I am so good. She doesn't have anything to do with the OC, but I can't stop envisioning her as Marissa. So happy birthday, Dakota Johnson. Would have been an interesting Marissa. You're welcome for throwing that out there in the first 30 seconds. Can you imagine?
It would have been quite interesting, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
I would, you know what? Reboot the OC, do the entire cast the same, but put her as Marissa.
Do like the college years, the OC college years. And then
let's do it. I mean, Dakota Johnson's too good for that, but I'll watch it.
I'd watch it anyway, right?
Because I read it was her birthday, and then I watched the episode, which I normally watch the episode the day before, but watching it the day we record is life-changing. And then I couldn't stop imagining her as Marissa, and I was like, I don't know why my mind went here, but and it's a very Marissa-centric episode.
100%. I mean, very, 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 very.
But no shade to Misha Barton. She's great.
Absolutely. All right, folks, season 1, episode 8. We appreciate you guys following along and listening to us each and every week here. This episode titled The Rescue. Are you ready for the synopsis of our episode?
I can't wait. Is it a good one or a bad one? Every week, I don't look at it on IMDb and to be shocked by what you read me.
All right. The first line is, "It can't stay in Mexico," which I'm assuming is a play off of last week whenever, Seth said whatever happens in Mexico stays in Mexico, which I thought is
okay. Do you think that person was like, that's the best quote of their episode? Like the person that wrote this synopsis was like, that's the best quote of the previous episode. Got to work it in. I kind of like, oh God.
It can't stay in Mexico. Not after heartbroken Marissa took all those pills. And not with Marissa's mom. That's we don't know who that is.
Come on, Julie. Just say Julie.
Not with Marissa's mom trying to have her institutionalized. Spoiler alert. Something Ryan, Seth, Summer, and Marissa don't want to happen.
Oh. What is this description? It's like, here's everything that happens in the episode.
It spoils the entire episode.
Really also, does. I like that they're like, Marissa took a bunch of pills. Right. That's not a nice way to describe what happened. Come on.
No, not just worse. Not after heartbroken Marissa.
Yeah, that's not even what it was. It was a combination of many heavy, traumatizing things. Because, okay, when I was a kid and I watched that episode, I was like, damn, Luke cheated on her and she took drugs. But as an adult, I'm like, that is that's 2020 happening to you in 1 week. Oh my God.
Oh, man.
Heartbroken Marissa. Oh my God. Marissa deserves better than this. These synopsis, they need some work.
They really do. The opening of the show is extremely awkward.
It's really serious and sad, right. But I couldn't stop laughing at how mad Kirsten and Sandy are because I'm imagining it from Seth has never been in trouble, right?
Right.
So you have to remember that thing with the Range Rover, the Shark IMAX movie. I'm doing air quotes for everyone listening. That whole thing happened, and then it's when you're a kid and you snuck out and you did something bad and then you got caught doing something even worse. So your parents are mad at you for 1, sneaking out, and then 2, whatever else you did. So now it's they said they were going to Comic-Con, this innocent thing.
Right.
They went to Tijuana, Mexico.
Yes.
And someone OD'd and could be dying. What?
I know.
So Sandy and Kirsten are dealing with this really heavy thing, but I still felt it was not, I don't know. It was just weird. She's like, do you want sesame or plain? I'm like, right. Dude, no one cares about bagels. No one cares about the bagels.
She was aggressively holding those bagels. Like,
and they have that fancy bagel slicer. Like those are like for only people that eat bagels like on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Because like if you just like, oh, I'm gonna buy bagels, you use a knife and they're uneven. But the Coens take bagels seriously, so they have that bagel slicer. I'm like, Kirsten does not need to be near anything with a knife right now. Like,
absolutely not.
A slicer, like she was like, if looks could kill, Kirsten would have killed a few people. Like, angry mama bear. Let's just say that.
Hands down. So they get the call. They go to the hospital. Okay. And as they're in there, it's hilarious to me. Okay, then Julie shows up, obviously, to kick the Coens out of the hospital. Literally,
where was she?
Right, that's
like,
was she off getting?
You care so much.
Yeah.
Okay? Then why'd you leave?
So, like, literally, the Coens just showed up, only to be kicked out 5 seconds. They literally just arrived, as we see. That's how we see it, right? You know what I mean? We see them walking into the hospital room to see Marissa.
Like, they weren't even all the way in the room. Like, Ryan and Seth were, but like not the rest of them. Like, it was weird.
Kristen and Sandy were just chilling, like, kind of by the door.
Like in that weird, like, are you gonna invite me in? Space in the doorway.
And then Julie's like, get out, right? And then, of course, as they're leaving, which is very strange, right? As they're leaving, she then yells down the hallway, Ryan, come back here.
Okay. If you were Sandy or Kirsten in that situation, would you have accompanied him?
Yes. It's a kid. He's
really
not like
bothered me.
100%. Like, that's the first thing I thought of whenever I watched it. I'm like, if my mom or dad in this situation, like, wouldn't have, like, he's only 16, 17 years old in that area. So, like, he's a minor.
And it's like a legal situation, honestly. Right. Like, because, like, she is in the hospital. So kind of like whatever they say against this kid who has a poor record, like, could turn into something. And Sandy's a lawyer. He should know this. Like, and they were just talking about, I wrote this down. Kirsten's like, I'm sure she'll apologize, Ryan. And Sandy's like, are you sure it's Julie? And then Julie's like, Ryan, come here. And then they're like, okay, go talk to her. I'm like, what? Like,
what dynamic just happened?
It was really weird.
Yeah.
Like, really weird. But this is like the most I've ever hated Julie. Like, I thought back about how we've given Julie MVP and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I take it back.
Because
it's horrible.
She tells Ryan he can't see Marissa again, obviously. And then you think of all these things that have transpired. Obviously, they're all Ryan's fault. It's Ryan's fault that her dad got punched in the face at this big party because he was stealing money from everybody. It was Ryan's fault that she consistently forces her to be with Luke, even though he's really not a good person. And it's also her fault, also Ryan's fault that they're getting a divorce. Also, it's his fault that she overdosed on pills.
So I still don't understand, and it's not like a spoiler, that Marissa never addresses anything that happened with Luke, at least to her parents.
To anybody.
But so I understand it with like the therapist, because Marissa, we'll get into that later, the whole dynamic there. But like, it's really weird she doesn't like confide in Jimmy.
All right.
Especially after that whole phone call, because it's like, it's just so weird to me.
They had a moment there, right?
Yeah. And then
you know what I mean?
She keeps like letting Julie like bash Ryan. And I'm like, I understand, but like, you should be like, listen, like,
right.
Look what Luke did to me. And Ryan is the person that combed the streets of Tijuana trying to find me.
Exactly. It was so crazy. Even through the entire episode, she never one time does it, right? She never addresses the situation to say, Luke was cheating on me with
in front
of me while we were in Mexico, which then led to the chain of events, which I just found out a day earlier that you're getting a divorce. Factor that in, and then factor this in, and then it's just like wham bam, I see him cheating and nothing is ever spoken. It's just like, if you think about it in a way, Julie can't see it any other way right this second, right?
Yeah.
Because it really has. I mean, when Ryan has jumped in, a lot of things have happened.
Yeah, like that's the thing. It's like when she is explaining like just firsthand what's happened to Marissa since Ryan showed up, I'm like, he is the common denominator.
Right.
But like Marissa even tells her later, she's like, I've been trying to talk to you about this. And I'm like, she's been trying to be like, Mom, I'm like unhappy. Like,
Right.
I don't like all these, like, I don't want to just go through the motions. I want to be like living. She's like,
Right.
I can't just be with the guy you want me to be forever because that's what you want. Like,
Exactly.
and it's like, we'll talk about this later when we get to her comment of she didn't want to kill herself, but like, she doesn't want to bring these things up because she doesn't want it to be like, oh, she went through A, B, and C and wants to kill herself. But like, when Julie's like attacking Ryan, she doesn't know any of this other information. So she's not really like completely wrong. It's just like infuriating because she is wrong. She just doesn't know.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Like, again, that's what I'm saying. Julie has a strong point that all of these things have transpired. Even if you take out the idea they're getting a divorce and her dad's stealing from the entire town and her mom's really just not a very good mom if you take out all those things.
Like all these other things, the house burning down.
But the house, exactly.
Like,
she was involved in the house burning down. She's involved in several other instances. The gun going off with Luke at the part. You know what I mean? All that stuff. You know what I mean? Exactly. Not, and the crazy thing is not to get too far, but it never one time is addressed the entire episode.
Really wild. Like,
it's weird.
I hate it.
Absolutely. So we get their first introduction to the school, right?
I was so excited. Because we've talked about this a few times on the podcast. Like, where is the school? What is going on? Is it summer for 9 months? Like,
yeah,
get to the school.
We're 8 episodes in, finally seeing the school, which is hilarious.
Crazy.
We're following teenagers right now.
Yeah, like it's a high school show, and it's like 8 episodes in. Here's their high school.
And they're just registering right now. So
yeah, I love that Seth is wearing his messenger bag to establish that Seth is not a backpack person. Yeah. Like there's like 3 kids in high school. The kids like Ryan. I think Ryan gets a messenger bag eventually, but people that carry their books, people that have backpacks, or people that have messenger bags. And there's not one moment, even before you see Seth with a messenger bag, that you're not like he's a messenger bag guy. Like,
absolutely.
I was definitely I carried my books. I didn't have a backpack. Messenger bag.
I love whenever they see Kirsten and he says a line, "My mom's more popular than I am."
Okay, can we talk about how rude that was though? Seth says hi to 2 teachers and they don't say anything back. And I'm like, at least be like, "Hi, Seth." Like, you don't have to be like, "How was your summer?" Like, just be like, "Hi, Seth." Like, I don't know who these teachers are, but next. Dismissed.
We transition to Sandy moving into his new digs.
Really crazy.
It is very weird to kind of see him in that dynamic. There's one scene, I didn't mention it while we were talking about it a minute ago. Whenever they show up to the school, he says it, but this is one of the things I want to highlight that I love the writing on the show is they were talking about, I guess they had a state-of-the-art gym at the lawyer facility. And she said, "Well, you didn't have that over there at whatever." And
at the DA's office.
Yeah. And he goes, "No, we had a basketball hoop," which is a playoff of exactly what Ryan said to Seth whenever he's like, "You have a swimming pool and a tennis court?" And then Sandy's like, "Well, you didn't have that." No, we had a basketball hoop. And
I love that both of them say basketball hoop because it implies it's just
exactly
you put somewhere. Like,
it's
it
not
didn't
a
actually
basketball
belong.
Court. They didn't say basketball
it's just
court.
The hoop.
Just the hoop.
It's so funny because it brings back every time Sandy has been like, "I am Ryan." Exactly. And you're like, is he? Because he lives in this McMansion, has this nice life, but you're like, he was Ryan. Yeah, it's so sweet.
It's perfect writing. Perfect.
It's great.
It's just and the matter of moments of whenever it kind of transpires, right? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Happens.
It's really subtle.
Very much so. I do love. First thing we do know that Kirsten loves Seth, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. She would do anything for a kid. But when we see her stand up for Ryan
it's so
the dean,
sweet.
To the dean lady. I don't remember her name off the top of my head.
Kim.
Yeah, Dr. Yeah.
I love Dr. Kim.
Yeah,
she's not my hilarious. MVP, but she's so funny.
She's hilarious.
And it's one of the few TV shows where the teachers don't get recasted. Like the first time you see them, like she stays Dr. She played that same actress. I don't know her name. I should look her up. she plays Dr. Kim the whole series. And I feel like the writers of the show did Gossip Girl and they recasted the headmistress and it was very confusing. And they just never addressed it. But it's like
Rosalind Chow.
Okay, shout out to Rosalind Chow because she is like really funny but like scary at the same time. Like I felt like I was in trouble and
exactly.
Obviously very important to her character. But yeah,
exactly.
I loved Kirsten standing up for Ryan. It was so sweet. But I love that like in that whole thing, like Kirsten stands up for him while she's kind of coming out at Ryan. And then Ryan also stands up for himself, but like when Kirsten's doing it for Ryan, Ryan shoots Kirsten a look like, aw. And then when Ryan is standing up for himself, Kirsten like shoots him the same look. And it's so funny.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
She's like, yeah, you get it. Like you stand up for yourself. Like,
exactly.
It's so funny.
It's kind of a theme throughout the episode. If you really pay attention to the episode, if you're watching at home there, you kind of see where we see, I think Seth kind of grows into, or not Seth, Ryan kind of grows into his own in this episode a little bit.
He talks a lot in this episode.
He does. He's kind of, which is mentioned later.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. But he kind of stands up for himself a couple times in this episode. It's kind of nice. You feel like he's kind of growing into the person that he's kind of not wanting to be yet. He doesn't know where he wants to be. Obviously, they kind of talk about that a little bit with the college thing and stuff like that. But he stands up for himself. You know what I mean? I don't think he would have done that 3 or 4 weeks ago on the show. You know what I mean?
Like you can tell him being around supportive people is like helping him find his voice.
Absolutely.
And it's like so sweet because it's very subtle. Like they're not like shoving it in your face. It's something you have to pick up on. And I love that because we love character building here.
Absolutely, because like it's the little things that we talk about on the show that makes it so good, right? It makes it different from other shows kind of like this. Like we talked about this, as stupid and as little as the basketball hoop thing is, it's very relatable because it shows you what they drive home to you, that Sandy likes Ryan so much because he sees himself in Ryan. So that little stuff like that. And then of course you see the character building within Ryan as you see him build the confidence, and you see it throughout the episode. You don't see it just in this particular moment, you see it throughout the episode.
Love it.
We transition to a very awkward moment between our fancy love-hate relationship of Summer and Seth. It's so bad, man.
I like covered my eyes. Like I was like,
so
this is painful. But like at first it's so pure. Like because Seth is sitting, waiting for Ryan, and they're beautiful. Like I can't believe this is a school. They're sitting there. I mean, he's sitting there by himself. And then Summer comes up to him and just sits down with him, which is not something she would have done a few episodes ago. No. So you're under the impression, you're like, Summer's changing.
Right.
But then a minute later, you're like, absolutely not.
Cheerleaders walk by and he says, old rules apply. And I'm just like, oh, poor Seth.
It's so uncomfortable. I hate it.
And then we transition to Julie, which... Can we talk about this for a minute? Okay. I'm a very big...
highlights?
No, I actually wasn't going to talk about
the worst highlights I've ever seen.
So my thing is this. Look, I'm a big proponent of, I believe parents shouldn't fight in front of their kids, right? I'm a big proponent in that, big time. It doesn't... If you want to fight, you got to take it somewhere else, right? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's
Shout out to my parents. I've never seen them fight.
Right, exactly. So
like I've never seen it happen.
Right. So and that's a testament, right? You learn from something like that. You know what I mean? It's you understand that there's struggles in a relationship, but parents should be unified in front of their child. So to me, what blew my mind is we know Marissa's in and out, right? You know what I mean? We know she's kind of in and out. She's kind of drugged up a little bit from the hospital, kind of coming back down from being, damn near overdosing. So Julie pulls him to the side. Pulls him to the side, but is still inside the room with Jimmy, and she does not whisper at all. No. You know what I mean? She's not whispering. First thing is, why couldn't she pull him outside the room, close the door?
It's so bizarre.
Right. Second, she is such a piece of garbage.
She's the one who is like, we need to be united front, and I'm like, so why are you blaming him?
We need
conversation.
We need to be a united front, but hey, also
you
I want
are
sole
responsible
custody.
for this, and I'm getting sole custody. I was like, girl, this is not united front. Like, do you want me to Google it for you? Like, I was so confused. I was like, did she just say she wanted a united front? Like, it was weird. It was really uncomfortable. And what sucks is she is kind of right that this was the weekend he had the responsibility of watching Marissa.
Absolutely.
And technically, this did happen on his watch.
Right.
Which sucks for Jimmy because
the technicality.
Like, it's a technicality. It is not like Jimmy's fault.
Right. And can we talk about how she ended it? You should get cleaned up. You're a wreck.
Especially because like at the beginning of the episode, we were talking about like where was she that she got there after the Coens. Right. But Jimmy had been sleeping there. They made that very evident that he was sleeping there. And I'm like, he doesn't look good because he's staying day and night at the hospital bedside to his daughter. Like, what is he supposed to look like?
I don't know. I hate Julie so much.
I hate her. I hate her so much.
Her writing is so good, though.
She's so fun to hate, you know?
God,
like
she really is.
It's so...
So obviously we transition into Ryan studying for this test, right? It's the placement test. If he passes the test, he gets into the school. So that it's funny because you have Seth talk about, hey, you need to pass this.
I also need to talk about Summer. Hey,
right.
Study. Hey,
I will fail.
Do you think Summer?
You will not fail. I can't do another year alone. Please, thank you. Study. Interrupt. I cannot believe that Summer is.
It was the funniest thing. It's so Seth.
And then he's like, hey, I've got to study. And he's like, but I cannot believe Summer, blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, it's so good.
It's so funny. Because Seth, like, obviously talks a lot, but he hasn't had a friend for so long that he cannot stop talking because he's like, Ever. I have so much to say. Like, exactly. I've been quiet for so many years. Like,
yeah, he actually, anything that's ever happened to him, he's been in love with Summer for so long, he really just probably sits in his room and talks to himself about it, really.
Honestly,
you know what I mean?
Or Captain Oates, who we meet later. I can't wait to talk about Captain Oates.
It's funny. Obviously, it's so important. He doesn't want to hear Seth talk at all. You know what I mean? He needs to study. But then as soon as Marissa calls...
The second Marissa calls, he's like, okay, I'm on my way.
I'm gone. Screw the test.
Like, come on. I
don't care about the test no more.
It's ridiculous. It's so funny.
Very sweet he brought flowers, though. Very, very sweet that he brought flowers.
It was so sweet because he was like, it's all they had left. And you could see in the background all her nicer arrangements.
Yeah.
But like, it was so sweet because I just can't imagine Ryan buying flowers for anyone.
Exactly.
Not because Ryan's not a nice person, but because Ryan doesn't believe in like materialistic things.
Right.
So like.
Again, a growing moment for Mr. Atwood in this episode.
We love to see it.
And then, of course, Julie comes back in the midst of this, and then she sees the flower.
Before Julie comes back, Marissa specifically states to Ryan, I did not want to kill myself. I have a lot of questions about this because I think she needs to admit that in the moment, that's what she was thinking.
Contemplating.
Because maybe she didn't mean to go through with it.
Right.
But like, I think there was a moment she was thinking about it.
Yep.
And I think, like, I don't think Marissa needs sent away, but Marissa definitely needs some help. Like,
oh, absolutely. And this, like, states before the trip to Tijuana. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and, like, to be fair, like, if Julie and Jimmy are your parents, like, anyone needs help. Like, it's not just Marissa. Like, that's a bad card to be dealt. Like, my God. Like, that's like if you're playing Uno and you get, like, 2 +4s in a row. You know? Like, poor girl. Like, and then Luke on top of it. Like,
exactly. It's the icing on the cake, right?
It's horrible. But then, Julie comes back, sees the flowers, instantly knows they're from Ryan because she's like, these are not nice. It's so brutal. Ryan's hiding in the bathroom.
And here's every word she says about him.
Horrible.
Then we transition to Seth and Kirsten. Which is so funny because Kirsten wants to know what Ryan wants for lunch, right?
It's so funny.
She goes to start walking. No. He studies in the nude. It's a Chino thing.
I just love that he was like, it's a Chino thing. Like, he couldn't have been like, I don't know where he got it. Like,
just a Chino thing.
Had to add that. Very weird.
Oh,
but then the doorbell rings. So she goes and chats to Jimmy.
Such an awkward moment.
It's so awkward. He's like, I'll wait outside. I'm like, what, bro? Like, what?
Is this because you tried to make out with her? Is that why?
It's so weird. But I like that they address the situation and they don't like just ignore it and hope it goes away. Like at least they discussed it like adults. Like
at least
they were
they
like,
discussed
this
it.
is
I'm not
dumb.
gonna spoiler it later or anything else here. I'm still mad about that, but it's because I just
I
watched it
hate
like an hour ago.
Yeah, like it's very uncomfortable. But then he does come in because they're adults. But
yeah, still.
Can he stop like going to to Sandy for like free legal advice? He's like, I stole millions of dollars from my clients. Like, can you bail me out like with free legal advice? He's like, cool. I like need a divorce attorney. What's up, Sandy? Like, come on, bro. Like, and like, what kind of lawyer is Sandy? Like,
not
you don't
divorce
know
lawyer.
how to do all these things.
No, you don't. Like, you might know a few laws here and there, but like, you don't.
You can't specialize in every single like divorce, custody. Like, come on, embezzlement. Like,
Sandy Cohen's attorney at all law.
Apparently. Like, no more Roman J. Israel Esquire. It's like Sandy Cohen Esquire, all laws. Like, it's weird. It's very weird.
Obviously, we find out Julie's sending Marissa to the mental institution in San Diego. We also see a moment where Julie throws the flowers in the trash can because Marissa sneaks into the bathroom to give a call to her very good friend Summer. Which is really a transition into probably the best moment of the entire episode, where
Summer comes to Seth's room.
Yes. You know what I mean?
And Seth is like, Mom, I'm studying naked. And Summer's like, ew.
Summer? Oh, God. Such a great
funny.
moment.
It's so funny. It's so pure.
And then the
especially
way
when she comes in and she's like, who's that? And it's Captain Oates. It only took 8 episodes, but Captain Oates is here.
I love how he says, who is that? Nothing.
Nothing. No one.
What's its name? Nothing.
It doesn't have a name. She's like, come on, Captain Oates. Okay, what do you want? Like,
because like this is a dream come true for Seth right this second, right? Yeah. Summer is in his bedroom. You know what I mean?
It's like, so funny.
Yeah,
it's he has his plastic toy horse out.
I love how she kind of semi calls him out, and she's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'll just go with you." He's taking his test, and he's like, "We need to take on Julie Cooper," and then he goes, "Yeah, we need Ryan."
It's so funny. He's like, she's literally like, "Are you ready to take her on?" And he's like, "No, we need Ryan." Like, it's like, you're right. And then my favorite part is he's like, "That's my bed." When they're walking out, and she's like, "I know." Like, it's so funny. He's like, "But I needed you to know." Like,
exactly.
It's so funny.
I love that we transition to Sandy, and I just love the fact that he's like booking all these court dates, even though it's like the opposite of what they really hired him for.
It's so funny. It's so funny. She's like, you have 7 clients and you book 5 court dates for them. Like, what are you doing? Like, and it's so funny.
And we see a little sexual tension there. We get a little bit of the sexual tension from the God, what's her name? Rachel there. She kind of gives that little "do it for me" moment.
It's so weird.
It's
because like they try to like say they've known each other forever, and I'm like, but like in a casual way, not like I know all your ins and outs. Like, it's really weird. It's
all they've tried to do is like they try to hire him a bunch of times, and I'm sure they've gone to court and they faced each other a couple times. You know, that's the kind of dynamic that they have. That doesn't mean we've been out to dinner and know everything. This is day 1 of Sandy's job.
Yeah, it's really weird. Like,
and then
she
leaves the line of like, I put my name on the line to get you hired here. Well, why? Like, it's very confusing.
It's really weird.
The dynamic is very confusing. So Seth and Summer go to break out Ryan, obviously, which is kind of funny because like we know, like it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, how long is this test? That's my first question to you. How long is this test?
I mean, a placement test is just to see it wasn't a placement test, right? It was an aptitude test.
Yeah, aptitude test. Yeah.
Okay, so it's just to see like how far you are, like what you know. Mm-hmm. But I feel like they'll be like 10 questions, like a subject. Like, they're not very like, especially because when he's holding it, it doesn't look that big. Like, it looks like multiple choice.
Right. It looks like 3 or 4 pages. Tops.
Yeah, and I'm like, there's no way. It's like, I don't know. It's just weird because they clearly know that like this is really fucking important for Ryan. And
Right.
they're just like, screw that. Come to the hospital, do something illegal.
Right. So like that's my question. You couldn't wait another like 30, 40 minutes or so.
It's
And
very
then
weird.
I just thought it was very strange at this particular moment. I did like again as we transition with Ryan's development of character. Obviously, he knows how important this school thing is, but we see him really stand up for himself again against Dr. Kim here and just say, "I know." He admits, "I know how important this is, but Marissa's more important." You know what I mean? Like,
It's so
obviously.
bizarre. Like, it's so weird. I'm like, they haven't really known each other this long. Like, relax.
It's been like a couple months, you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
the thing about
like,
it is, it's like she has done him so many ways wrong. I'm not saying he
so
hasn't done
many.
her either. Like I'm not saying he really. Like, I mean, he really hasn't though. Like he hasn't really done anything wrong to her. Like the things that his actions are just basically reactions to what she's done to him. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's just funny to me that he fights so hard for this woman that just has not really kind of ever really
And it's like
committed.
just problem after problem after
Exactly.
problem.
And you're trying
like,
to get back on the right foot. Trying
it's so
to.
bizarre. Like, just let it go.
Exactly. Seth's reaction to Summer dressed as a nurse is the greatest thing ever.
It's so funny and cringy. And I'm just like, you're so lucky you're Seth Cohen that I'm excusing this behavior. Like,
She just talks
it's
about
so
how they're
funny.
always dressed up like as candy stripers or whatever, and he goes, "I should be hospitalized more."
And she's like, do you need some help? It's so funny. It's so funny.
Oh man. Yeah. This next moment I really kind of enjoyed as well was we had a moment between Julie and Jimmy, right? And she goes and they kind of bicker back and forth because they're making the decision whether or not she needs to be institutionalized, and Jimmy's against it. Julie obviously is for it, obviously. You know
And
what I
it's like
mean?
so dumb because the person brings up, she's like, we can do therapy here.
Right.
And I'm like, so do that. Like, problem solved. Like, what
Right.
is.
And then Julie goes, "Don't make me call my lawyer." But then Jimmy hits her back with the "Don't make me call my lawyer." And it's like,
It's so funny because she's like, you have a
okay.
lawyer. It's so funny. But also, I'm like, who's his lawyer? It's obviously Sam. Like, because he let, like, he went to meet Sandy or whatever. And, like, that didn't pan out. He's like, I'll figure this out. And I'm like, what? Like, it's very weird. I'm assuming he means Sandy.
Oh,
How does Julie not know that?
Yeah, exactly. And then of course she goes out the door and says something to the doctor and says, "Hey, we both agree that we should send her on her merry way to San Diego." Which is awesome.
This is after the therapist sits with Marissa and is like, "Tell me about your mom." And she's like, "How much time do you have?" And I'm like, so this therapist knows the mom is like crazy and out to get her, and
No
she
red
just doesn't
flags,
care.
nothing, right? Like no red, like doesn't bring up anything. Obviously, like you said, she offered both sides, right? She can do therapy
Yeah.
here / she can do this. And while we understand that, but at the same time, like the doctor doesn't do any investigation into the relationship of the parents, like fully, like, hey, I need to talk to you two guys about this, like what's going on. Because like if you think about, there's so many different dynamic things going on with this family, and as
Like, I would send them all away.
right,
Like,
yeah, you're going to an institute, you're going to an institute, like
they all need some time to focus on themselves and
exactly.
stop causing harm to each other.
Exactly. I love whenever Seth and Summer have a little moment here. Whenever they're talking about the book that he's reading, then she talks about how she read
He's
it.
like, I can't believe you read it. Like, it's so funny.
And he goes, "You're a strange and mysterious woman, Summer." So sweet. I do think that this is some of the best writing for Summer that we've had so far.
So far. She still has her moments where I'm like, oh my God, but she's gotten better.
Obviously, we're breaking her out. You know what I mean? It's happening. And then, of course, we open the door and big bad Luke is there.
I was so annoyed.
I was really strange that it took us this long into the episode to see
it's
Luke
pretty
finally,
far in.
like very far in. And then we finally see.
I wish I could see Luke finding out that Marissa overdosed.
Right.
Because he was probably with Holly. Right. Probably like.
I'm just
being a shitty
finish what I
person.
started. I'm gonna finish what I started. And then we obviously, of course, Luke does the
The
take
honorable thing.
stairs.
Yeah.
He has no real choice here. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't really. I mean, what is he? What card does he play here? You know what I mean? Like he has to play this card the way he is because.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
what is he
can't
gonna do?
really,
Call
like-
Julie? You know what I mean? The next scene where we see, which is very strange, Kirsten and Jimmy walk into a Mexican restaurant where Sandy is having like basically
Drinks with associates, but it's just dinner getting drunk with Rachel.
And this is Kirsten's first time meeting Rachel, which is very strange to find out since there's supposed to be such this dynamic between Rachel and Sandy's history with each other. You know what I mean? I just find it extremely weird that they've never met each other.
It's very weird.
But when she walks up and goes, "So, are you guys suing a tequila company?"
It's so funny. It was really funny. And then buzzed Sandy is like, "We don't sue anyone." It's so funny.
Oh, God. I love Sandy. And then I love how Rachel goes, Kirsten, you're so lucky to be married to someone so funny.
You don't say that to someone. What is this? What is happening? Like, you don't say that to someone. It's so uncomfortable.
It's so good. It's so good, though. It's so funny. And then, of course, we transition from there, which is a very awkward scene. You know what I mean?
Oh my God, she's literally like, "I'll see you at home when you're finished with work."
Exactly. Such a strange moment. Like,
it's so uncomfortable.
We transition. Jimmy comes home.
All the lights are out. He has some pizza. It looks like he has breadsticks on top.
The lights are out. Can we talk about the lights are out?
Yeah, it's really weird. I didn't get it.
Four people in the living room just chilling. Where's no it like lights. Surprise? Like
it's very weird.
It's not a birthday party. Like how long were they sitting with the lights out? Like we don't like.
It has to be a while. Because it was light out when they left the hospital.
When they left the hospital, it was light. It's dark by the time he gets home. Like what is going on? It's dark outside, so it's not like there's light beaming into the house. Like
it's very weird. That's a weird thing.
Obviously Jimmy was right here, right? You know what I mean? I don't need
to tell
I don't need Julie to think that, I'm hiding you out. I broke you out because then it's just going to make me look terrible to the courts and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That was, expected moment, you know what I mean? Obviously. And then of course he takes a step outside and then,
why would you do that? She just escaped a hospital. And you're like, let me leave her alone in a room with the people that broke her out of the hospital.
Exactly.
Like, come on.
I think it's because obviously he didn't want her to hear him say, even though he doesn't really close the screen door.
Yeah. And I'm like, you're in an apartment. Like, you don't have privacy. Like, everyone can hear everything you're saying.
Exactly. So obviously Marissa overhears him say, she's here. And then, of course, Marissa, in her super ninja-like fashion, sneaks out the door again. She walks and moves like a ninja because this is the second time we've seen her sneak out of a small environment and nobody heard anything that was going on.
So funny. It's so funny. Does it to Summer? Does it to Jimmy? Does it to anyone when their back is turned and they're in another room? She's gone.
Walking out like a ninja. And then I did think it was a very sweet moment where Ryan did offer to stay away from her.
Yeah, she's like, I don't want that. And I was like, cute. They're finally going to be a couple.
And then, of course, we transition to, which I find hilarious, is Kirsten is literally waiting up for Sandy to come home.
She's literally like drinking coffee, sitting in their like formal living room. Like, how was work? I'm like, he was drunk, eating chips and salsa. Like, come on.
I did love the fact that he called her ass out for spending like an entire weekend with Jimmy, which he never like. He doesn't like it's okay. That relationship is very weird, right? Very weird. Very weird, right?
And everyone, including Kirsten, knows how Jimmy feels about her, and like he still lets her go. Not like lets her. Sorry, that's bad.
Right.
But like he doesn't like question that she's going to help. Yeah.
He trusts her.
It's like you can trust him, but I think the root of the issue was that he kind of like doesn't say anything. Like he just went to dinner and didn't say anything. And like his work told Kirsten he's at dinner with associates, and it was just Rachel.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like that's the thing for me is like the dynamic there was good because he calls her out, she calls her out, and then but at the same time they come down to the moral of the story is look, we trust each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know,
so I like them as a couple.
It's a civil like it's how
they're
like,
civil.
If we need relationship goals in society, if people want to watch that scene of how people should handle
except Kirsten neglects to tell him something.
Well, that part, obviously, yeah. Let's not forget about the part where she's
don't lie to your significant other about being kissed by somebody else, guys.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that moment. Don't watch up until that. But yeah, I just completely. Yeah. I'm ready to give her all the credit in the world, and I'm like, oh wait a minute, nope, just kidding. It says right here, Ugh had a chance to tell him, and then nothing.
But honestly, like at that point, she's already held on to it for so long, like.
And the thing about it is, so look, I already told you, like, I felt like she let him have the job as a substitute for Jimmy kissing her, right? Mm-hmm. And now she's like, I'm okay with you having your little fun with Rachel over here for a night, because in the back of my mind, I still know that Jimmy made out.
So cringy. God, I hate it.
It really is. I love when Ryan calls saying he said, if I learned anything, you don't want to go to court. You want to settle.
It's so funny because I'm like, does Ryan know what he's talking about? Like,
it's a great dynamic. This is a great moment.
I really like this a lot because this was a good way to handle it with Julie. Right. And if we learned anything from this episode is that you need a witness around Julie Cooper. You cannot just be alone with Julie Cooper because she will do something to like mess up whatever you're trying to get accomplished. So Ryan and Marissa could not talk to Julie one-on-one. They needed chaperones. And absolutely. I love when Ryan is kind of getting snippy and Sandy's like, watch it. Like, yeah, like it's so funny.
We want to do this, but at the same time, we want you to have respect for her. You know what I mean? Ryan was showing a little bit more confidence, what we've talked about throughout the entire episode. But at the same time, Sandy's like, respect your elders. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, you know what I mean? It was like you're riding a fine line right now. We're letting you have the floor, but be respectful about it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's an overall very interesting dynamic because like between the two that we have there, Ryan's really calling her out.
I love that he's like, you're from Riverside, right? And she looks at Sandy. She's like, did you tell him this? Like, it's so funny because every time something's happening, someone brings up that Julie's from Riverside. And she's like, no. Like, exactly. I'm like, girl, you are from Riverside.
Yeah, like stop faking it. You really are. And then, of course, we have the moment where Marissa tells her that, she wants to live with her dad, and Julie takes it as Julie takes everything in her life.
For a moment, I was like, wow, Julie cares about Marissa, but then she's Julie, and I'm like, she does not. So
yeah,
she always has to be Julie,
which is again a testament to the amazing writing of Julie Cooper.
Because it's like for a second you're like, oh my gosh, she's tearing up. She cares about Marissa, and then she's like,
she snaps right out of it. She snaps right out of it. It's over.
She's like, this isn't over. And she like runs out. She's like, I'll see myself out. I'm like, okay, Julie's back. So funny.
And then we have a sweet little moment with
Seth and Summer out by the pool being all cute.
And he's just like, you're not going to be able to resist this. Basically is what he's saying. You know what I mean?
He's like, when we go back to school, you can't ignore this. And I'm like, yes, I mean, she's had a lot of time ignoring you.
She's got practice.
Like, don't think it's gonna be that hard. Like,
but let's talk about how Kirsten comes outside, right? And then Summer leaves, and then she like looks back at Cohen a little bit, and that's just cute. Like and it was a real honest smile from her, right? You know what I mean?
I wonder if this is when they started dating, the actors Rachel Bilson, Adam Brody,
right?
Because I know they started dating the first season. I'm like, I wonder if like as their relationship, Seth and Summer's relationship takes off, is like that when Adam Brody and Rachel Bilson's relationship also takes off. It's so funny.
It's interesting because like it's a really good moment, right? It's that
Mhm.
moment. It's the first kind of real-ish moment outside of obviously the kiss that you know, did or did not happen. We're still not 50. We saw it happen. Some of the other people didn't see it happen, you know. But it was just a sweet moment. And then I love whenever Seth corrects Kirsten on saying Tijuana, right?
It's like, it's Tijuana. You're so white, Mom. It's so funny. Because I'm like, it's still Seth saying it, who's even more white than Kirsten.
Exactly.
Like,
exactly. And then of course we go back inside. We have Sandy and Ryan talking about going back to see Dr. Kim. And I love he says, you're scared of her, aren't you? You went toe to toe with Julie Cooper, the dragon lady.
It's so funny. But it's like one of those things like everyone else is scared of Julie except Ryan because Ryan knows who she is because she's from Riverside. And he's like, I know you.
The kind of person
like,
you are.
Yeah. But it's like Dr. Kim is like, I mean, she obviously has some sort of PhD.
Right, exactly.
She can determine his future.
Exactly.
And like that's scary to him.
It's terrifying.
Like
right.
It's funny because it was like he was kind of getting snippy with Julie because he doesn't respect her.
Right.
But like he's scared of Dr. Kim because he's like, I respect her. So but it's like so funny because it was like 2 minutes ago. It was like that didn't bother you, like respecting your elders, but like
exactly. This lady does.
It's so funny.
We transition to Sandy and Seth.
The cutest moment.
Oh my god.
It's so cute. I love it so much.
He goes, the dynamic here is so good. Obviously Ryan's inside taking his test. And he
finally
goes, Sandy goes, you and Summer seemed chummy.
Who says chummy? Only Sandy Cohen.
And he goes, he said, you can, like, Sandy's like, you can tell me all about it. You know what I mean? And Seth's just like, no, I really can't. And he says, if you can't tell your dad, who can you tell? Ryan, like, mom, that tree over there.
It's so good. It's so epic. It's so funny.
And he goes, this was one of my favorite lines of the entire episode. Well, you're going to miss me when I'm gone, Sandy says. And he says, when are you leaving?
It's so funny. I love it because he just like kind of pushes Seth. Like he like hits him a little bit. And I'm like, their dynamic's so pure. Like I love it.
Obviously, Ryan pops out. He passes the test. I'm going to let you have this. Obviously, we know he passes the test, but I'm going to let you have this moment because it mentions the one thing that you love talking about.
I love it so much.
So obviously, they're talking about going to take the mugshot, as we like to call it, for the high school.
And he's like, Sandy's like, look at my new mugshot because he took his new ID photo for his new fancy job. Pulls out his dad wallet. It's the same wallet my dad has, that like leather fold wallet that's like filled to the max because that's what dads do.
Yep.
And he's like showing them his photo, which we cannot see, and I wish we could.
Oh,
he's like, Dad, those eyebrows are out of control. And then Sandy goes, son, it's like a thing of power. And he's like, you must be the most powerful man in the world. It's so funny. Okay. It's beautiful. It's really it's so funny because the camera's really far from them, so it should be like a completely like non-important conversation. But my favorite part of the episode, obviously my favorite quote, like
as soon as I heard that, I was like, yeah, this is going to be awesome to talk about because like we talked about the dynamic of Sandy's eyebrows in this episode quite a lot.
They're their own character. They should have their own billing. Like
exactly,
they're epic. They're beautiful. We love it.
MVP.
I'm gonna go Ryan.
Yeah, I did too.
Okay, yeah. I mean, Sandy even says it. He's like, I've never heard you talk so much. I'm like, me either. Like, he like kind of starting to find his voice, like figuratively and literally, and I really like that. He's growing a lot.
I agree 100%.
I dig it.
You got a fun
There's no other MVP. I do. It's really funny. I don't watch Friends. I mean, like I have, but I don't really watch it. The actress that plays Rachel played Ross's girlfriend on Friends. And then the guy that plays Jimmy played Rachel's boyfriend on Friends.
Oh, interesting.
And then obviously Rachel and Ross end up together. And it's really funny because the guy that played Jimmy dated Jennifer Aniston before she married Brad Pitt.
Oh, I like that a whole lot.
Big old Friends connection, if anybody watches Friends, which is not a show we will do a podcast about because
it's not good.
It's not for me.
Yeah, it's not for me either. So do us a favor, head on over to Twitter, give Kenzie a follow at Ken's Vanunu, give myself a follow at Ricky Villar _. Head on over to the musiccitydrivein.com to check out all of our latest movie reviews, articles. We got content pumping out left and right over there. And folks, thanks so much for tuning in and consistently supporting the podcast, listening to the podcast. Kenzie and I really, really do appreciate it. It makes this even a better experience for us each and every week to have the communication with you guys. And until next time, we'll talk to you guys later.
Wait.